I would like to talk about a blog in Touch of Peace called Buddha's Enlightenment, and it's on page 227. If you'd like to read the blog, I had a lot of fun writing it. And you know what it's about is what happens in our lives or in the lives of the people in the world when there is an uplifting of consciousness. So it started with the thought that I had read in a scripture that whenever someone, a great soul like Buddha, attains enlightenment, it sends a kind of wave of light around the globe, and that wave of light uplifts the consciousness of everybody on the planet. When Christ was crucified, because that was an act where he was serving all of mankind, a wave of blessing went out around the world to uplift consciousness. And so in the blog, I wrote about different aspects of what would happen. And the first, as I say, I had a lot of fun writing this. It was one of those ones that was creative and enjoyable for me. So I said, what would happen in the animal kingdom? And if there's blessing to everything, you know, trees are conscious, plants are conscious, animals are conscious, even stones are conscious, but not very, very conscious. But here, the animal kingdom is obviously conscious. So I wrote a little scene about a leopard hunting and grasping a little baby fawn and just about to kill the fawn. And at that moment, the wave of enlightenment, wave of uplifted consciousness from Buddha's enlightenment goes around the world, and it strikes her. And she looks into the eyes of this little fawn, and just because her consciousness is uplifted, it reminds her of her own babies. And instead of killing the little baby, she treats it as one of her own babies, and she begins to lick and heal the wound of her claws where she had brought the little fawn down. And so it went until the fawn was able to get up and totter away into the woodland. And just that little scene of the upliftment of consciousness. Then I go on to talk about a greedy merchant and how that worked with him. I go on to talk about somebody who wants to help the world, to spread an uplifting vibration. In fact, this one takes place of a pharaoh in Egypt who realizes in that moment something that has bothered him for a long time, and that's the owning of slaves. And even though he knows the council will reject this ultimately, he makes a declaration that they, at least the court, perhaps the country, shall no longer own slaves. And because that wave of consciousness has uplifted everyone, even his kind of cynical counselors and greedy courtiers, because their consciousness is uplifted, they go along with the proclamation. And at least for that brief period, the slaves are freed in that. And then I end with a high soul and how his consciousness is uplifted. Anyway, I think you'll enjoy reading the blog. But the point here is beyond just Buddha's enlightenment. Everything comes from consciousness, and the fact that if a person of high consciousness is in a high state, then being around them or tuning into them will uplift our consciousness. One time, Master Paramahansa Yogananda was in a very high state of consciousness, in samadhi. And a direct disciple of his, close direct disciple, was with him at that time. And she was going to leave to give him some privacy. And he just said very gently, he said, "No, stay. It's a great blessing for you to be near me when I'm in this state of consciousness." And so it is in our lives. Seek out higher consciousness. Seek out those who are enlightened. If you can't be with them physically, be with them through their writings or through their lectures. But if you allow high consciousness and the blessings that come with it to enter into you, you will find that every aspect will go a little bit better. You won't want to harm. You won't want to be greedy. You won't want to do things that hurt other people. And you'll want to dedicate your life a little more sincerely to your search for God. God bless you.